All right, it is time finally. After 8 months of waiting to be able to ceramic coat this, I have the weekend to be able to do this, so I'm gonna try to knock this out. Today I'm gonna be focusing on getting the exterior cleaned up and polished, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be using the DIY stack. This is gonna be the first time using that. That is their 8-year coating topped with their 3-year coating. And I want to see how that performs on this vehicle. This thing has only been rinseless washed up to this point, so up until now, it has never seen a foam bath or anything like that. I've only maintained it using rinseless wash, and surprisingly, the paint is in very good condition. When we got this, I coated it, or I protected it using the DIY quick beads. I used that on the wheels as well as the paint. I wanted to give it a little bit of protection until I had time to give it the ceramic coating. So it has been about 8 months. I had just that initial application of quick beads. That is still what's on the paint today. And this thing is primarily garage kept, so it's not seeing the weather and the elements as a normal vehicle would, but it is held up pretty well for 8 months. So my goal for today is to rinseless wash everything, get the exterior as clean as possible, dry everything off, do the clay and decontamination step. I am gonna use iron remover. If there are any iron particles, I wanna get those off as well. And then I'm going to finish up doing the wheels, drying everything off, and then starting the polish. There are a few spots on the vehicle, which I'm gonna do my initial walk around here in a second, but there are 2 spots on the vehicle that I know of that will need to be polished out with a more aggressive pad. So I am gonna use DIY Gold Standard Polish as my polish, and then I'm gonna use their foam roll pads for these 2 areas. There's a scratch, minor scratch on the passenger front fender. I think one of the kids was going by either with a bag or either a hockey stick or something, and there's a slight scratch there. And then there's a mark on the tail light from where a foul ball was hit during my son's fall ball game and ended up hitting the tail light. There's no damage around it on the paint, but that tail light needs to be polished out a little bit. There's some minor scratches. So in the big picture, not a whole lot of damage, and we try to keep this thing looking pretty good. So it has been raining for the past couple of days. I decided to bring the dehumidifier up to try to reduce the amount of humidity in the air when I go to apply the coating. In addition to that, I set the temperature to about 65 degrees in here, something that's a fairly good temperature to work through a ceramic coating. So once I get to that tomorrow, those will be the conditions that I have it set to. The dehumidifier, I'm gonna try and have that run at about 40% humidity, and then that should give me more than enough working time and address the flash times. So for today's process, I've got my bucket, about 4 gallons of water. I'm gonna add to it my DIY rinseless solution. I'm gonna use 2 ounces. That is the proper dilution ratio. So I'm gonna throw that in there. My 2 ounces. And then I'm immediately gonna throw in my wash sponge. So I'm using the DIY Legacy sponge. This has worked very well for rinseless wash. So that's in there. In the foamer, I've got DIY All Clean diluted 15 parts to 1, and I've added about ½ an ounce of Incredible Suds just to give it a little bit more foam and working time. In a regular pump sprayer, I've got DIY rinseless solution that I'm gonna follow up afterwards. Once the foam has been applied, I'll follow up with this to give it extra lubrication before I do the contact wash. So the process right now is gonna be foam, use a super soft detail brush, go around, work all the cracks and crevices, get all the dirt out of those areas, follow it up with rinseless solution, and then I'm going to go on to the contact wash. Once the contact wash is done, I'll follow up with a brand new Rag Company clay towel. So first thing I'm going to do is get the windows, because you want to break this in with on the windows rather than the paint. And then once that's done, then I'll work my way around the rest of the vehicle. This should be a typical detail on the outside, and then afterwards I'm going to follow up with a polish. So let's get to it. I'll jump up. All right, so before I do anything with the paint, this is a brand new decontamination towel. So the first thing I need to do is actually break it in on some glass. I don't want to go directly onto the paint with this, because there is a coating on this decontamination towel that needs to be removed before you bring it onto the paint. If you do not, then you do run the risk of scratching your paint. So start off, fold your towel into fours. Start on glass. Glass is going to be a little more forgiving, and it'll actually help break down that coating. And then this will also give you a chance to decontaminate these windows before you move on to cleaning the paint. And you do want to apply some pressure. Okay. Now I'll move on to this window and just work my way down these windows. So prior to using the decontamination towel, I did wipe these down with the rinseless sponge just to get some lubrication and to remove any of the surface dirt that may have been on there. Now I'm going to come through, try to use these windows to clean up and remove that coating. So now I've done both of these sides. Now I'm going to flip my towel, exposing the last two sides that need to be prepared. Again, using some slight pressure. This is the only time that you want to use pressure with a decontamination towel. Otherwise, you do run the risk of scratching your paint. I did have another decontamination towel that I had been using. It was towards the end of its life cycle, so it was time to replace it, but it was still in decent shape. Okay, so now that coating has pretty much been removed from the towel, and I'm ready to start on the paint. So I'm going to start by doing a rinseless wash on the top of the vehicle. While I'm up there, once I wipe down the panel, I'm going to use this towel to decontaminate the surface while I'm up there. I'm also going to use iron remover while I'm at it. All right, so I just finished the wash on the exterior. I still have the wheels to do, but I'm gonna do my post-wash inspection because really I'm gonna be focusing on the paint. The paint is in really good condition except for a few spots. The scratch on the passenger side fender and then that spot on the rear taillight that I need to polish out. Those two areas I'm going to go after with the Flex PXE80 with the foam wool 3-inch pad by DIY Detail. So that should take care of those two spots. And then once that's done, I'll go over the entire vehicle with the jeweling pad from DIY and the gold standard polish. And that should take care of the exterior for tonight. My focus here is not to get perfection on the paint. This is a daily driver. My focus is really to remove the quick bead that's currently on the paint and get this down to bare paint so I can go ahead and coat it. So that's the only reason why I'm really doing any kind of polishing here, aside from those two areas that I mentioned. So it's not going to be going after defect removal. It's really just going to be a quick polish to remove that product. All right, so as I mentioned, this car has been rinseless washed regularly for the past 8 months or so. And this paint is in very good condition. Even after doing the synthetic clay towel, I actually see a scratch right here that I had not noticed before. I don't know if that's being picked up by the camera. But that is what this process is about, to go around the vehicle and mark off the individual areas that I notice. So I'm gonna grab some masking tape, mark these areas so that way I can come back through with the PXE80 and address those areas individually. And then I'll come through with the jeweling pad afterwards and get everything dialed in the way that I want. All right, so for this process, I am just gonna go around each of the panels using my inspection light, looking for any imperfections. And then once I find them, I will mark them with some masking tape. So there's a little scratch here, nothing major. And then I'll apply some masking tape there. So I know to come back later and really inspect that area and fine tune that with the DA. So one thing I should mention is silver is a very forgiving color. So it is not going to show a whole lot of imperfections. So you really have to search for those areas that need to be refined. So I am not seeing a whole lot here that needs to be touched up. There is a little bit of something right here. I think that's tree sap. Mark that. So the piano black trim piece here and the letters, I am seeing a little bit of marring, which is black is always going to show the worst as far as what shows up. So I'm going to hit these with the jeweling pad. What I found is this area here will actually clean up better with the jeweling pad than trying to go after it with some aggressive polish and pad. So I'll see what that does, along with the trim pieces up at the top. This black area down below, same thing. So we'll see what kind of perfection we can get out of that. I will try, just notice a scratch down here. Yep. So this right here. All right, just notice some tree sap up here. So I'm gonna go around. There are a couple areas that need to be touched up that had some tree sap. I had not noticed that that was there, so it's probably relatively new. Get a little scratch down here. These wheels were protected with quick beads a couple months ago. They are no longer beading. So I am going to apply another quick layer of quick beads just to the face. Give it a quick shake and then give it a few minutes. And then I'm actually going to use the same rinseless solution to rinse away quick beads, and that should bring back some of that beading action on the face of the wheels. Now, to finish it off, I've got a dry microfiber towel. Nothing too special, something I'm not afraid to use on the wheels. And I'm just gonna dry off that wheel. Wipe down the rubber, which should be clean at this point, or relatively clean. And then give these a wipe down. Now, if I was planning on ceramic coating these wheels, I would pull them off the vehicle. I would do a thorough deep clean of the barrels, get those dialed in, polish everything, and then ceramic coat it. But where I will normally use quick beads, that I have found to be the most efficient way to take care of the wheels. It gives them some protection, and then I can come in every few months and just reapply as needed. All right, so I just finished polishing out the rest of the vehicle. I wiped down all the panels with Rinseless to remove the majority of the polish residue, and I'm gonna go over the rest of the vehicle again with DIY panel prep. That's gonna remove the polishing oils and just leave bare paint ready to receive the coating. And then once that's done, then I'll start the initial coating, which is the DIY 8-year coating. I'll wait 2 hours and then apply the DIY 3-year coating on top of that. And those two will combine and create a single layer of coating that will be more effective than either one of the two by themselves. I've got one towel that I'm gonna use. This is gonna be my damp towel. I'm gonna take my panel prep, spray that on, couple sprays, get it damp, and then wipe down everything on the panel. Once I do the initial wipe, I'm gonna follow up with a second towel and just wipe away the streaks from that panel prep. All right, so that wraps up the first coating for the DIY stack. This was their 8-year coating, went down super easy. Everything was coated, the glass, the trim, the paint. The only thing that did not get a coating was the wheels. I did that quick beads application just to get those through. Maybe in the future, I'll take those off and actually do a ceramic coating on them, but that should get me through the winter for this year at least. So with the stack, you need to wait at least 2 hours. From the first panel to when I just finished, it was about an hour and a half. So I think a 2-hour timer should probably do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that now. So in 2 hours, I will get going on the second coating, which is the 3-year graphene coating. That'll go on. And as long as you're within that 2 to 8 hour window, the two coatings will actually merge together on the paint and then come together and create a single coating. So it's not layering like G-Technic has their CSL, Crystal Serum Light, and then EXO. Typically, you'll stack those coatings. This works a little bit different where the two coatings actually melt together. And there's that window of working time that you have, which is that 2 to 8 hours. And as long as you're within that window, those coatings will merge and create a single coating on the paint on the surface. So I'm gonna give it some time. While I'm waiting, I'm gonna actually start cleaning the interior. I get the windows. I'm probably gonna do the tire dressing and take care of some of the odds and ends things to get this dialed in, so that way it's good to go afterwards. And then once that coating goes down, then this thing should be good for the next 8 years. So, all right, I'll see you guys in 2 hours. All right, so it's been a little bit more than 2 hours. I let the coating cure a little bit longer. We ended up having dinner, so that took a little bit longer, and I missed that 2 hour mark. All in all, it's probably been 3.5 hours total since I started with the roof and then worked my way around the vehicle. So it took me about 1.5 hours or so to do everything and coat everything. So I think we're still within the window of the expected time where we can actually do the coating. So what I have here is a DIY 3-year graphene coating. And I'm gonna record this process because this is the first time that I've ever done this combination, and I want to get my initial reaction to it. Normally I would start with the roof and work my way down, but I want to do the hood here so that I can catch that initial reaction and get some of that footage. So I'm shaking up the coating just because it's got the graphene in it, and I want to make sure that's reintegrated into the carrier. And now at this point, I'm going to put, I don't know, 10 to 12 drops on the applicator just to and now we're ready to go. What I've noticed is the dots on the applicator are a little bit darker, so you can definitely see that there's graphene in the product. So the first thing that I'm noticing is what Ivan was referring to. The coating applicator just glides across the existing coating that's there and makes it super easy to spread out the coating. All right, so I'm gonna give this a few more minutes to bond before I start wiping off the coating or leveling out the coating. What I'm comparing this to is the G-Technic line where they have Crystal Serum Light and EXO. I was using V4 at the time and doing that 2-layer coating. This goes down very similar where you have that base layer and then the super slick second coating that goes on. I'm getting the same kind of vibes here. So what I like about this is how quickly you can apply that second layer. With EXO V4, you had to wait up to 12 hours before you can apply EXO on top of CSL, and that was just a lot of time where you would be waiting. Normally I would do it at night and then wait until the following morning to apply the next layer of EXO, but this you can do within a few hours and it goes down super slick. So this looks like it's ready to be leveled out, so I'm just going to go over it very, very lightly. Oh, and this is super smooth. Now, when I was putting down the first layer of the 8-year coating, the paint was very slick to start with once I got that first layer down, but this definitely kicks it up another level. Oh yeah, that's nice. All right, so I just finished coating the hood with a 3-year coating on top of the 8-year. The experience that I'm getting is very similar to the G-Technic line, where you have Crystal Serum Light as the base layer, and then you come on top with EXO. EXO V4 was the primary version or the main version when I was using that product line. What I've noticed is this is going off of memory, but this is much slicker than what EXO was like when it was applied. EXO almost seemed a little sticky versus the super slick feeling that you have with the DIY products. So far I'm very happy with it, and I know this will just get better as this finishes curing. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna start with the roof again and work my way around the vehicle, finish out the coating, and then this will be left to cure for the next day or two. But so far, very happy with the results that I'm getting. You know, as with everything with the DIY line, it's super easy to apply. Leveling is very, very easy. Probably the easiest coating that I've ever used. And then, you know, the results that I'm getting are spectacular. So I'm gonna keep on going. I'll do the final shots afterwards, but I'm very happy with the results so far.